Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. My name is Matthew Coble. I'll be your host as usual. And today we're talking with WWT expert Phillip Palmer, who is a Senior Practice Manager for Automation here at Worldwide Technology. Phillip describes himself as a service management evangelist, process and quality purist, and an automation enthusiast. And he brings a great personality to his leadership with WWT's clients and our partners and the colleagues we have around the business. And he's also got that rare ability to be that smart, approachable leader who's working between technology and business audiences. Super fun guy. Please welcome Phillip Palmer. Phillip, nice to see you as always, man.
Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, it's been a while. How is it to be back in St. Louis?
Look, it's really great to be here. I personally like to drive down, so I enjoyed the drive down. It helps to keep me grounded.
Yeah,
going through the areas of the middle, and there may or may not be a couple of automation things that pop up in my head on the way down as I'm rolling the dice with fast food at times.
Yeah, very good. Well, good. You're kind of rehearsing what we're going to talk about here today. So, well, look, today we're going to talk about platforms and automation, and platforms can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So if we level set it, when we say platforms in the context of automation, what do we mean?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think if I may,
please.
I've got an analogy that I like to use there, and pretty much everybody watching this or anywhere else has a smartphone, or the folks out there you have got a smartphone, and your smartphone is probably the perfect example of what a platform is. A platform is basically just basically a group of technologies and applications that work together for a specific outcome. So, oversimplifying on purpose, if you look at your iPhone, the original phone that we had was for personal communications. I need to make a phone call to somebody. There was a specific outcome. And then smartphones came along, and it really kind of cornered the market on personal information management, to use a nerd term, right? So you had your contacts, you have your calendar, right? You have your email on there, and it's a way for you to do that. But in the same way, when you go to the App Store, the platform that is your mobile phone or cell phone can be extended into other things. So now we're doing a lot more with our cell phones than we used to back in the day when it was just the old, brick phones and whatnot.
It was a phone.
Right, exactly right. And so from an automation platform standpoint, you have, so kind of tying that in, you have, for instance, ServiceNow, which you can look at as like a workflow automation platform, or what's called a IT service management platform, right? You have Salesforce, which you can look at as a customer relationship management platform. You have things like Cisco DNA Center, or other things that are known as AI ops platforms. And if you even just take some of those words and you look at them backwards, so IT service management platform, it's a platform for managing your IT services. So it tells you what it's there for. But likewise, with ServiceNow, with Salesforce, with DNA Center, with robotic process automation platforms, there's a specific, as I like to say, noun that's there, right? And then it exists to give you everything that you need in one place to be able to extend it into those other areas. Hopefully that makes some sense.
That makes sense. All right, well, Phillip, one thing we hear over and over from our clients is that they're turning to automation to drive efficiency and simplicity. And I'm curious your thoughts about, both of those principles as it relates to automation platforms. How can automated platforms really simplify things and make things better like that?
Yeah, that's another great question. Tying off of what we talked about earlier regarding the cell phone, let's talk about efficiency first.
Okay.
One of the things that the automated platforms can do is, because they're focused on typically on a specific area, they already have a lot of things that are going to be baked in to those particular platforms to help you to increase the velocity or the speed of what's happening there. I think that the real thing for the platforms is more so around the simplicity standpoint. A lot of organizations, a lot of customers that we run into, they've got like a lot of point solutions, for instance. So they've got a lot of these smaller, different type of point solutions that are around, which means that their IT people have to learn multiple different things, and there's multiple different languages that are there. The platform thing, again, much like the cell phone, makes it simple. There's, in theory, one code base. There's one language for them to develop in, which makes it easier. And then it's a matter of, to use another well-worn analogy, like the big green board that you use for like Legos, right? And then because you've got that green board as a platform, you can then start to build things on top of that, but it's to a certain standard, it's to a certain specification, so everybody's working within that. So it's really, to me, the first step is really the simplicity part, and then can come this speed and velocity after that to help move those things along, because a lot of the stuff is already baked in to those particular platforms. And it's just a matter of, we have this workflow, we have this thing here, just kind of pick this up or adopt and adapt, just adjust and tweak it or do some performance optimization on basically what we've got here.
Yeah. Well, do client organizations really start there, or are they thinking more? Because what we've heard is that there's sort of these point solutions that people think, oh, I'm going to automate this right here. Are they thinking simplicity and efficiency to start? Or is that something you have to sort of coach them to really get to?
Yeah, that's the reality is, I'd much rather talk about the outcome and then how do we get to that outcome faster. So a lot of the conversation is mired in this speed and velocity. But again, there's one thing about the speed and velocity of getting the pizza to your door, but if the pizza isn't what you actually ordered, what difference does it make how fast it got there? Right? And so when it comes to a lot of these platforms, there's a lot of this talk about speed and efficiency and making things easier, and then the output that you get at the end isn't necessarily what the business needs. It might be what the technical people want, but it's not necessarily what the business needs. And so in our conversations with folks, we like to say, hey, speed is very important, but the first thing is, are you effective? You know, the old effectiveness and efficiency conundrum, right? Are you effective? Effectiveness meaning, is the output what you wanted it to be? Great, right? Then how fast does it need to go from there? Or, you know, you have to finish the race before you can win the race. So what is the thing that we need to finish? And then how fast do we need to get there, later on?
Well, I know that we've got, a lot of clients at different stages along that journey, but I'm curious, as you're working with them, what are they thinking about at different steps along that automation journey, from, very beginning stages all the way through to clients you're talking to who are really advanced in what they're doing?
Yeah, magical 3-word IT answer, right? It all depends.
It depends?
Right.
Oh, it all depends.
It all depends, right? Or the other one is not my fault, not my problem, or ask someone else. Those are the other magical 3-word IT answers. It depends on who we're speaking to. So when you're dealing at the infrastructure level, right, the focus is on task automation, managing my day-to-day tasks of managing the networks, or there's a ton of data out there that says for every piece of IT that you buy, every dollar that you spend, there's $3 being spent on maintenance. So when you're down at the technical infrastructure person level, their focus is largely on the task automation stuff, and how can I use Ansible, how can I use playbooks to quickly automate these particular things. You move up into the management layer or the process layer, their focus is more so on more of the end-to-end type of things that come along with that, right? So it's more on a business-focused, request-based automation and speed and velocity. So somebody in this particular area of the business asks for this. Some of these playbooks down here might run. I don't know anything about that at all, by the way, because I can't see it. And then how do I quickly get to this particular outcome there? And then when you get up into the higher area, where you're getting into more of the budget holders, if you will, some of the C-suite, they're looking at a completely different thing. Their thing is, holy cow, we need to stay competitive. This seems very, very complex. What's the fastest way for us to not lag behind? Or there's almost like a palpable fear of everything's moving so fast and I can't keep up. How can I keep up more quickly? So the story that we tell can adapt to the area that we're at. But I would highlight again, it all comes back to what is the outcome that we're looking for? This automation, how does it help the business overall? So it's great that you did a playbook, and I think that's wonderful, but how does that help enable the business, and what is that doing? You've provisioned more servers. Good for you. What were those servers for, and what area of the business does that connect to? And that's how the change that we like to bring to it is like, when you go faster here, you create this value for the business. And also, don't forget, you creating something faster here, this part of the chain, could create a bottleneck for somebody else. So fantastic, you went faster, but all the other people down the chain can't keep up with how fast you're going, and that doesn't actually help because, again, the outcome still hasn't been achieved. Long answer, but hopefully that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, I know that we like to think we help organizations automate everything right. That's sort of one of the principles we speak to. But I also know that as you're talking with different infrastructure teams, development teams, sometimes they get stuck with automation platforms. So what are the patterns you're seeing about how and when people get stuck, and how do you get them unstuck?
Yeah, if I may,
Please.
With our automation themes, the first thing in our themes, which I really like, is visibility. So the first place to get things unstuck is you can't automate what you can't see. So if you don't have visibility into the things that you're trying to automate or what it is that you're trying to do, you're not going to get, we're not going to get the other principles. You're not going to get the speed. You're not going to get the efficiency, right? Yeah. You're not going to get the reliability out of that. So a lot of times when it comes to the journey, we start with, okay, what are the pieces of infrastructure that we need to automate? Where are they? How are they running now? And do we have visibility about how things are running end to end in the first place? Because if we don't have that, you might as well just be trying to optimize one part of the engine without having an understanding about the other whole. And so that's usually where we try to start, especially when we're dealing with opportunities that are at the infrastructure level with those infrastructure folks. A lot of it is just, well, if you don't know what you have, how can you possibly move faster than anything else, because you have no idea what's out there. So let's start there. And then from there, we can simplify and look and go, look, you have too much stuff. You have too many point solutions. Maybe we need to get rid of this. And the joke that I like to tell is, if I'm about to go out to dinner with my family, and a member of my family looks in the closet and goes, well, I need to buy a new outfit every single time we go out to dinner. It's like, you got a closet full of clothes. Why don't you just wear what you've already got? IT estates are the same. So one of the ways that we can simplify is give visibility to what you have. How can what you already have help you get to the goal that you want to? And then we can have conversations around some of the other parts from there, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, so I know automated platforms can be a very technical topic, and there's lots of technology involved for sure. But it's also the case that there are cultural impacts that organizations have to really think through. So tell us a little bit about how people or processes need to shift with automated platforms, or other sort of cultural evolutions you see in organizations that make this work effectively.
Yeah, and I'll say this very slowly for anybody that actually wants to listen to me. Automation is always 2/3 people process, 1/3 technology, right? You can buy technology till the cows come home, but the cultural shift in your organization is so very, very critical. If you have people that are used to, for instance, like working on an assembly line and just kind of turning a wrench that way, then you put a high-speed, low-drag piece of equipment in their hands where they can, because I like use sound effects. That's going to require a different level of training. That's going to require a different level of understanding, and the cultural shift that needs to come with that is going to be very, very important. Not so much in just relearning, or not, for lack of a better term, teaching the old dog new tricks, but from the standpoint of helping them understand that how this is going to make your life better. The manual labor and stuff that you're doing right now is going to go away. There's a lot of very technical people that are very well qualified, that are, that should be, for instance, engineering new roads, but they're standing on the side of the road with a shovel and they're just digging holes.
Yep.
And that's how they're using their talents. And so tapping into that and helping them understand how that's going to shift, but it's a whole new world and a whole new mentality, if you will, when you go from different point solutions and being an expert in this one thing to having to maybe take a step back, educate yourself on how this platform works. And the final thing that I'll say is to really ask yourself, why is this better? What can I get from this that I can't get from my existing system or those things, and how can I use this and leverage it? And there's a huge learning and cultural shift, and those that want to learn and that are interested in that usually have a much faster adoption than folks who might dig their heels in because it's not what I'm used to, right? I only eat chicken tenders because that's all that I know. And you have the palate of a 7-year-old as opposed to, a high-speed, low-drag, a degustation meal, right? There's a different mentality that comes with that, right?
Yeah. So. And the organization is doing it well. Their people get to sort of work on higher value things too, right?
100%.
Because you automate away some of that day-to-day, recurring stuff that may not be the best use of your people. So it also unlocks a cultural value around that as well.
And there's a difference between somebody who's just, making some fries and some chicken nuggets and the equipment that's there, and somebody who's doing a 7-course meal with squid ink, right? And putting that together, it's a cultural shift, right? It's not about little food. It's about the taste. It's about the quality. It's the same in
experience you're going to deliver too,
and it's the experience
for the employees and for the
I like you slip that in. That's good.
That's good. I did, yeah. So what are some good places for IT organizations to start if they're struggling with automated platforms, right? They're getting underway or they're getting stuck a little bit. Like, how do you counsel them to really think strategically about it and move forward?
Yeah, I go back to the previous question. What do you have now that'll get you there, right? You might already have Ansible, you might already be using ServiceNow, you might already have some automation platforms. There might be elements to the platforms that you already have that automate things, even though they're not necessarily called automation platforms. So that's probably going to be the best place to start, is kind of look at your estate and figure out what you already have. From there, it's what is going to gather the most influence. And the easiest place to start, in my experience, is start on what I would call the remediation processes, which is when something breaks, right, what automation can we put in that's going to fix it faster? Because that is a very easy and quantifiable way to show, here's how much time and effort we put into this thing. You have not experienced this much pain anymore because we've done these particular things. The next place that I would recommend to start when you go up the chain when it comes to automated platforms is if you're in the middle of a business continuity planning and you've done BCP planning and the business has spent a lot of time and money investigating if Godzilla steps on the building, fires, floods, earthquakes, what are the business services that are critical to us that we must get back up to speed? That's probably going to have budget already. Perfect place to start with automated platforms to say, you've already identified that this is critical and core to our business. So if this thing falls over, the mean time to restore or the return to time objectives, here's how we can use these automated platforms to help us get this speed and velocity so that way we can still run our business. And that, dramatic pause, that is what is going to be the thing that helps us accelerate past our customers in the case of a disaster. So, and how we can have the speed and velocity that we need to push past that.
Yeah. Well, I do want to go back to the idea of the experience, right? The employee experience, the customer experience that automation makes possible. Because it can happen at any level with automation, but I think as organizations get more sophisticated with their automations, they're really driving up the quality of those experiences. So are there any out there that you're seeing in the market, either on the employee side or the customer side, that you think are really interesting or nototable from an automation experience standpoint?
When I lived in Australia, and shout out to Domino's Pizza in Australia, so I'll just go there,
yeah,
right?
There you go.
So I'm an automation nerd, and I have to be careful because we're recording. So I ordered Domino's more than any other place because of the app and how it automated.
Because it was so easy.
It was easy. I literally would grab the thing and go, I'll have these two pizzas, and I'd hit on it. The most amazing thing about it was I'd look at it, and very similar to Uber, is like almost like Uber for pizza. Mm-hmm. You can actually see it. It's like, hey, we're making your pizza. It's in the oven now. That was all probably a lie, and it was probably just a thing that just ran, right? First job I ever had was making pizzas. I know how long they take. Shout out to, no, I'm not going to do that. So I've seen things there. I've seen the opposite end of that, and I think we all have as well, where you call into some place and you get the the automated messaging thing. Yep. Right, where you're yelling at the screen and you're just like, agent, agent, right? That's a horrible automation experience.
Yeah.
Again, market it in a way to say, hey, you can have people come in, you can reduce these times, you press a button, but that's not a great experience. And then you get into places like the quick service restaurants, or like Panera or McDonald's, where you've got the kiosk up front, and you can automate some of the order taking things, right? So there's some great examples of that. Now, from a business context, we've seen some amazing things that we've done ourselves. One is for a pharmaceutical organization that was where we integrated, for instance, ServiceNow and Cisco ICE for BYOD. And so the whole part was somebody could come in, they could register their device on the network, have it registered, automatically issue them what they needed. I'm oversimplifying on purpose.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of time, if they didn't re-up, it would automatically decommission said device, right? So that's a great real-world practical way of getting automation in, using multiple things together. Likewise, we're seeing huge opportunities and people coming to us all the time around something as basic as asset management. So for those of you that were paying attention, tying it back into visibility, there's a huge thing out there with organizations that have no idea what's in their IT estate. They have no idea where things are, where they're at, how they're configured. How
many do I have?
How many do I have? Software asset licensing is huge for a lot of organizations. I mean, we've helped some folks go from having 0 network devices known and registered to over 10,000. There was some agencies that we worked with that had no idea how many software licenses they had, what they were up for, and they were getting bills, and then because the people that sold them the software didn't work there anymore, and neither the people that were there that did the original contracts. And so, again, an automated way to go out from a visibility standpoint and get that, and then that also helps from the standpoint of the effectiveness and the efficiency, right, and the speed of, we know we have these many licenses, this person is asking for it, and then there's a whole automated workflow that you can put in behind that says, you click on it, it goes here, the robots do their thing, and now you get what you need, and off you go.
Yeah. Well, and I know that we, as consumers out in the marketplace, we have those great experiences that are powered by automation. It becomes an expectation, right, that we want to have that in our life, whether we're an employee or customer. So, and I know we're working with a lot of clients to help them get to that level of, that high quality experience. And automation and stuff you're doing absolutely powers that. All right, last question. Where are you seeing all of this going in the coming years? Like, what are you looking forward to seeing, 2 years out, 5 years out? I know, that's a fun question. So tell us where this is going to head.
The reality of the situation that I'm not sure a lot of people are prepared for is a platform-to-platform play. That is the future. It is a front office Salesforce doing API calls to back office, if you will, for now, ServiceNow, which does calls to, an AI ops tool and connects to that. The future is going to be platform to platform, which is going to be great. But tying it back into a previous question, it's going to be an enormous cultural shift. Just like, because I'm, microphone. Just like because I'm old, there was a time in my life where you could climb into the engine of a car and work on it, right? You can't do that anymore, right?
Right.
There's a lot of electronics, there's a lot of things that are there. And there's a shift from, well, I used to be able to just jump in the hood and just be able to fix it and tweak it. And now now my process is, I swapped out something in my Ford Edge recently, the whole head unit, right? I go to YouTube, I look up things. There's a whole different set of knowledge that you need to know in order to do that. I'm super excited about the platform-to-platform play. And again, tying in the car analogy is the Ford F-150 is a platform. The F-150, the Ford Explorer, it's all the same chassis. It's all the same platform. And then what you put on top of it depends on, here it comes again, the outcome of the use case. Yep. I'm really looking forward to greater API calls, integrations between that, because what that means is that we're going to get to a future where some of the basic service management stuff, CRM stuff, AOP stuff, that is going to be like a utility, much like in this room, nobody's questioning why the lights are on. If I go to the bathroom and I wash my hands, I don't question how the water comes out, right? That's the exciting part around automation is it helps IT become a utility like that where you don't think about why I'm getting this outcome that I am. It's just there. And when you get really, really good at it from a platform-to-platform play, especially with robotic process automation and AI ops and things of that nature, we're seeing a lot of stuff with ChatGPT and things with predictive analytics. I'm really looking forward to the day where, not in a creepy way, but it already kind of knows what's coming, and it can kind of help guide you towards that based off of the analytics that it's getting.
Start to anticipate things.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. More so than what we see right now with just targeted ads. But I want to see that type of outcome, but in a real business context outside of just targeted ads that you see because they're sniffing all your cookies on your browser.
Very good. Well, Phil, it's been delightful to have you here. Thanks for joining us today, sharing your expertise.
Great to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. Another great episode of WWT Experts. Plenty of past episodes out there on WWT.com. Lots more coming up on the calendar. Head to WWT.com/events and check it out. Thanks for coming this time, and we'll see you next time.